Hi there. A big leadership change happened today at the Nairobi Securities Exchange. Will this leadership change impact the prices of stocks, bonds, or other securities at the Nairobi Securities Exchange? Comment down below. Do you think leadership change impacts or influences stock prices at any securities exchange? And the big news coming out of Nairobi Securities Exchange today is that Mr. Tom Mulwa has been appointed the new chairperson of the Nairobi Securities Exchange. Of course, Mr. Mulwa is replacing Mr. Kiprono Kittony, who of course we all know was sometime in early March appointed the chairperson of Kenya Airways Non-Executive Directors Board. That is a major change at the Nairobi Securities Exchange. And the fact is that any change of leadership comes with potential change in shareholders' value. Of course, there is a difference between CEOs, chairpersons, etc. But at the end of the day, because of the corporate governance structures and checks in place, ultimately, good leadership is bound to reflect into stock prices or security prices. Bad leadership is also bound to impact securities or stocks prices at the end of the day. With this particular appointment, a change in chairmanship of the Nairobi Securities Exchange, do you think we're bound to see the security prices going up, or are we going to see the prices going down, or even so, there won't be any really major fluctuation? Comment down below. I want to hear your thoughts as I share my 2 cents with you. You are all much welcomed to my channel. My name is Afagza Sifuna. In case you are new here, kindly consider subscribing to this channel because I bring you amazing videos each and every day on matters money, matters Kenya, so that you can become enlightened and make informed decisions out there as you think about investments or even just appreciate our beautiful country. Thank you for subscribing and also dropping a like on this video. As a starting point, we might want to look at who is the new chairman of the Nairobi Securities Exchange. Who is Tom Mulwa? Tom Mulwa is a seasoned insurance executive. He is best known as the CEO of the Larson Group, which is an insurance brokerage firm in Kenya, in fact, one of the biggest. Mr. Tom Mulwa is not new at NSE because he had first joined the Nairobi Securities Exchange Board of Non-Executive Directors in 2025 before his appointment today as the chairman of the Nairobi Securities Exchange. And that means that Mr. Mulwa deeply understands matters insurance. He understands capital markets. He understands corporate governance. He understands institutional investments. And most importantly, he understands financial regulation of the country, of the stock exchange, and that is massive experience and value add to the Nairobi Securities Exchange. And the interesting thing is that in case you follow the Nairobi Securities Exchange as an entity, Mr. Mulwa is taking over at an interesting time when the Nairobi Securities Exchange has already laid in place a very ambitious strategic transformational plan, which basically means this is going to be realized under Mr. Mulwa's watch. And personally, I'm really psyched up about this appointment. Reason being, this is a seasoned executive who is very strategic. And that's the kind of leadership when it comes to leading an entity as a chairman. Of course, don't get confused. There is separation of powers when it comes to the day-to-day CEO, which of course at the Nairobi Securities Exchange, we know Mr. Mwiti does that, right? But now the appointment of Mr. Mulwa as the chairperson basically means we're bound to see more strategic stewardship or guidance at the Nairobi Securities Exchange. Think about it this way. The CEO is in charge of driving the car, basically running the day-to-day operations, and the chairperson is responsible for the direction or the endpoint, basically steering the vision of a particular car. They might not be driving day to day, but they are observing. They are assisting the day-to-day management to shape that particular trajectory which they are following. And that is where the power of strategic initiative, this particular understanding of capital markets, strong governance ability, which Mr. Mulwa possesses, is going to be a big asset at Nairobi Securities Exchange. And for you to appreciate why this is important, if you haven't read the strategy of the Nairobi Securities Exchange, there are 6 things which stand out. Of course, at the base of it, the Nairobi Securities Exchange desires to expand tremendously to become one of the biggest in the region. Of course, don't get confused. Nairobi Securities Exchange is one of the biggest in the continent, but they aspire to become big and bigger. That is why in the 2025 to 2029 strategy, some of the things are clearly outlined in the Nairobi Securities Exchange strategy. Among them is dramatic increase in retail investors. Secondly, the Nairobi Securities Exchange looks to increase more and more listings in the coming months and coming years. So you're bound to see more and more companies listing in the Nairobi Securities Exchange under the current strategy of 2025-2029. And then, thirdly, we are bound to see introduction of more offerings at the Nairobi Securities Exchange. This is clearly enlisted in the strategy. So we might see, for example, EFTs coming up in the Nairobi Securities Exchange, and even seeing other assets being adopted or other securities being adopted by the Nairobi Securities Exchange. Another thing is that under the strategy of Nairobi Securities Exchange for 2025-2029, there is very clear outlining of harnessing of technology to ensure operational efficiency and also better investors' experience while they are investing in the Nairobi Securities Exchange. And then, of course, the last thing which also stands out in the strategy is that Nairobi Securities Exchange is looking to deepen Kenya's capital market to ensure the capital market is vibrant, attracts more investors, and, as mentioned, is one of the most vibrant in the continent of Africa. Basically put, under this particular new strategy, the Nairobi Securities Exchange is looking for more Kenyans to invest, guys. Have you invested in the Nairobi Securities Exchange? Do you have shares by the listed companies in Kenya? Comment down below in the comment section. And I'm asking that because only a few people in Kenya have invested, yet as a country, we have a population upwards of 50 million people. Nairobi Securities Exchange desire to see more and more adults in Kenya investing in the Nairobi Securities Exchange so that together, as a country, there can be realized distribution and growth of wealth within the country. So having said that, will this change in leadership objectively cause increase in stocks? Or even so, increase in other securities, like for example, bonds, you name it? The truth is that no, the leadership by itself, that particular change, won't really impact the price of stock market per se. Because yes, upon any fundamental or news hitting a market, there's bound to be some retracement or even slight increase in prices of securities. But then all these course correct real quick, because it is a combination of fundamentals and also other parameters which impact stocks or even so securities in the long term. So from the base of it, this particular appointment won't really have effect on the securities prices by itself, but then again, it's going to play a key role in how the prices of securities at the Nairobi Securities Exchange are going to evolve. Case in point, good leadership at the Nairobi Securities Exchange might attract more companies to invest into that particular bourse. Okay? Good leadership or vibrant leadership at the Nairobi Securities Exchange might increase the trade volumes, basically trigger better volatility in the market, because more and more traders are going to be investing and engaging in trading at the Securities Exchange. Also, with good leadership, we're bound to see modernization of the market. And then, lastly, with good leadership, we are bound to see strengthened governance and, as a result, better investors' confidence in the market. Of course, all these are aspects which are bound to positively impact the prices of securities at the Nairobi Securities Exchange in the long term, not as of tomorrow. But when these amazing leadership qualities kick in, when we see this cohesion, when we see this vibrancy in the market, all these are bound to cause the prices of securities to go up in the long run. Guys, what do you think about this appointment? Do you think it is a good appointment for the Nairobi Securities Exchange? And secondly, do you think it's going to have massive impact on the prices of securities under the Nairobi Securities Exchange? Comment down below. I want to hear your thoughts on this issue. Cheers, guys, and catch up in the next video.